Yeah, here. We're fine. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get in the Garage, a music podcast
That's my line.
for music lovers. I know it is your line. Okay, ready? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get in the Garage
A music podcast.
for music lovers. I am here. The Trinity has reformed, and here we are. Jeffrey's back in action on this bright and early Sunday morning.
Yes.
It was tough getting up this morning. I'll tell you what.
He's in a black t-shirt, which means he's in some kind of mourning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For these fucking barbells I'm about to crush in 3 hours.
Blue is
Who the fuck shushed me?
blue is Jeffrey's neutral state. Black is like his rebellious.
It's my Sith Lord state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Feel the hate. Oh man. Well,
Anything else, you got the wild card.
That's right.
so welcome. Yes, welcome. Before we begin, I'm trying to do this at the top of the episode. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop us a comment if you have any suggestions or questions or anything like that. The interaction, especially on YouTube, helps wake up the algorithm as well as iTunes.
Wake up the algorithm.
algorithm.
Like it's a dark
Dude was
beast.
fucking
Rise.
sleeping.
It's a primordial whale lurking in the dark depths.
I think it
Jeez.
is. So, yeah, like, subscribe, all that stuff. It makes a huge difference, especially with subscriptions on YouTube.
What's
And,
our YouTube page actually called?
It's just Get in the Garage.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good
But we
to know.
haven't really awoken the beast quite yet. So, you know, we post through Instagram mainly and a bit of Facebook. So, you know, all the links you can find on all the social media pages. So you're more likely to find it on social media than you are on YouTube. Not that YouTube isn't social media, but
We're switching over.
yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
We're taking over the world.
Yes, but we have a fun show planned for today. Breaking them into two different sections.
I've never heard anybody be like, "We're gonna have some fun," and then someone would be like, like the least amount of fun possible to come out of Jeff's mouth. You're like, "We're gonna have a lot of fun today," and just like, yeah.
This is delayed fun because really this is an episode we wanted to end Black History Month with this, but since
Yeah.
I had to work last week, we could not do that.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be talking about some cult, lesser known
Underrated, you might
black
say.
artists, musicians, and bands that are worth checking out and taking a deep dive on.
Yeah.
Unsung legends.
Ooh, unheard heroes.
Oh,
Ooh, I like it.
I don't have one. Sorry, guys.
Fuck you.
So yeah, we're gonna start it off with doing, say, like a bit of a spotlight on an artist that. I mean, we were talking earlier, and I was like, I don't understand how somebody could have put out like 14 albums, and I've just never heard a single one of them.
I'm surprised it's only 14 albums.
Well, I don't know if it's. That's a shot. It's a shot in the
definitely
dark.
more than that.
He put out like
a shot in the
6 in the
dark.
90s alone.
Oh man. Well,
When his contemporaries were just out of the game.
do you want to start at the 90s though? Because
Well, let's. So this is an artist named Swamp Dogg, the original D.O.G.G.
Yes.
As Snoop Dogg has admitted, because Swamp Dogg has been making music since the early 70s. He's a singer, songwriter. I would say he's like
Song reader.
and singer. He's
Producer.
a producer. He's a soul singer, and it's soul music in a very traditional sense where it mixes blues and gospel and country
Yeah.
and R&B and some funk.
Yeah, it's not like stylized to one genre of soul. It's like all flavors.
So in that way, I think he's a great artist because he combines like pretty much I mean, he in a way he dabbles into some like hip hop influence stuff, but he is someone who really combines and really is at stirring the pot of all the black musical forms of the last 40 or 50 years. Now he's been doing stuff for 50 years. He's someone that came into my life just a couple years ago. I the algorithm on Spotify blessed me on my Discover Weekly playlist with the song I'm So Lonely off of his 2018 album Love, Loss, and Autotune. And it was like a robot choir singing a doo-wop song. And I thought, this is incredible. Who the fuck is this old man sitting above an empty swimming pool on the cover? And it was 75-year-old Swamp Dogg, and born Jerry Williams Jr. Swamp Dogg got his stage name and kicked off apparently when he did a little bit of LSD in the late 60s and then decided to like go on this musical journey of mostly like self-produced and struggling and like living in a dirty one-bedroom apartment type of life, grinding but just making music, and like really inspirational in that way because you can listen to tons of albums and like this guy, there's a fine line separating like this guy and like a guy who like plays a keyboard with an amp on the street and is like selling his new CD he made that year.
Yeah.
Like, cause that's kind of, that is in a way what he did for like at least like a middle decade of his career.
It's so strange
wild.
though, because he's making like very like well like arranged music, but it has like all the classiness of eating like steak off of like a paper
Like a steak
a paper
off
plate.
a paper plate.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
paper. It's like eating a steak off a paper plate and like trying to eat it with like a plastic fork and knife.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so like he's so talented.
Yeah.
And it's so but it's like also it's got like all the like Elvis in Vegas in a one piece like jumpsuit like cheesiness to it.
Yep.
Yes, 100%.
like-
I literally thought that when I was listening to it last night. I'm like, this is like, I feel like this guy would be doing a what's it called? Like when you like Caesar's Palace. I'm doing a when they like continuously do shows.
Oh, like a residency.
residency.
I'm doing a residency. Yeah, I'm doing a residency in Vegas. Like,
Oh yeah,
you can
because
picture him.
he's like half a comedian. Like his songs are just
Yeah.
like funny, silly, goofy, tongue in cheek. Like
Yeah.
they're like love
smoking, cracking,
Right.
selling cocaine,
or like love songs that are like very just like real world situations of like how life and love really is. Yeah, he's a funny guy, very talented.
yeah.
He's almost 80 years old now, and his voice fucking sounds the same as when he was 35 years old.
Yeah,
interesting.
there's a good, I think Noisy made just a YouTube clip where it's sorry you couldn't make it. It's like sort of a making of kind of thing.
The album from 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. And it's really good, man. And I think he's I don't know, 70s at the very probably like late 70s, right? Because
I think he's 78 now,
78. Okay.
something like that.
I'll get
But
a
yeah,
real
same
age
thing.
from that.
He starts talking, and I'm sorry. He starts singing, and you're like, holy shit, this guy still has it.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like sitting on a chair, and all of a sudden this amazing, beautiful voice comes out, and you're like, what? And like, because the way he talks too doesn't sound like he would produce like that kind of a voice,
Swamp Dogg is 79.
Wow.
What birth year does it have on there? 42 or 43?
42.
Okay, they fixed it.
So
Thank you, editors. on
thank you.
Wikipedia.
Thank you.
Giving him respect to the swampiest of the dogs.
This mafia is
So, like-
about bow wow.
if we're gonna highlight the records,
Yeah.
right? The first record he released, "Total Destruction of Your Mind," in 1970. So like "Total Destruction of Your Mind," when like it's just a hip track, it's really good. It's like a underground soul classic of the era. Like when I first put it on, and from there, this record just gets like it gets weirder and weirder and weirder. The post-apocalyptic song on here, is it what is The World Beyond, I believe is the name of that title. Yes. So this song is one of the strangest songs I've ever heard. It's like talking about like he's the little kid in the song sitting on his grandfather's knee asking what the world was like because we've nuked the world and there's nothing left.
Yeah.
And he's like, but the lyrics are so bad. Because he's like, what was a car? What was a bee? What was a wheel? What were children? And it's like, you're a child. Like
I love it. I love it.
It's so crazy.
Oh
It's
my
one of the
God.
craziest songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And then like the chorus is like, what was the world
Yeah.
like before we dropped the bomb? And it's like a slow, like country soul,
Yeah.
like drawl.
Yeah.
It is.
That's why I love his music, because really you could put this on, like, and you could just play it all day, and people would be like, yeah, man, this is cool. Laid back kind of country soul thing. But then they'd start listening to the lyrics and be like, wait, what? He's talking about like like just the themes, and
Did you hear?
he's basically
man.
like if George Clinton from Parliament
Yes.
Funkadelic was Bob Dylan. like that's like what he's going for, I think.
Yeah.
What about the tune on here? Hey Redneck on the first record.
Oh, yeah.
Hey Redneck,
See,
and and he's just like talking. He's like, hey man, like I know you're a redneck.
Yeah.
You don't really like me, but like whatever, dude. And it's just like the lyrics are so.
He has a
funny.
song that's like singing about people and like the differences in people, and like the lyrics about like the skin color stuff, and then he's like, and some of us are blue and some of us are purple, and you're like, wait, what? None of us are purple.
That song is called "I Was Born Blue."
Yeah.
And he's like, and I'm not purple like all the rest of the people, because I was born blue. And you're like, what? It doesn't even make.
I love it.
Doesn't. It makes sense somewhat, but
I love it.
oh yeah.
My first musical exposure. I know we're gonna jump ahead a little bit, but I just gotta say my first musical exposure was just a couple years ago with his pretty recent stuff. But I had seen some of the album covers earlier. Epic, just legendary album covers. The second
my favorite.
The second album is called Rat On, and it's him basically dressed like a member of the Fat Albert gang riding a 10-foot tall rat.
Oh my
look
God.
In the first album,
He
he's
looks like Rerun.
in the first album, he's like sitting in a chair with like a pan on his head or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks
Yeah.
like he looks like Davy Crockett cooking crack in the kitchen.
Again, though, he looks also like one of the Fat Albert gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how black dudes dressed back then.
Oh,
Can I
God.
share my
Looking
favorite
good.
album cover?
Oh, please.
It has to be Surfing in Harlem.
Surfing in Harlem.
The classic, 1994 or something?
1991.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like it's literally Harlem in the background, and then this cartoonish wave washing out of the city, and he's like surfing on this wave, just like,
And he's built like a bowling ball. He has giant, like, I'm still living in 1978 glasses on.
Yep. And like a Hawaiian T-shirt. I think like
And it's like hand drawn, except for him.
yeah,
so
right.
good.
It's just his head.
I also would like to note the wave he's surfing in Harlem is coming out of the fire hydrant.
Yeah. I like my favorite. Another album cover I really like is I'm Not Selling Out, I'm Buying In, which
Yeah,
is from like
yeah.
1980 or something. And it's him like dressed up like he's a dancer in a vaudeville show in a all white tux with a cane, and he's like, ta-da, like dancing on a table.
Yeah.
It's so good.
To be honest with you, my favorite album cover is Resurrection,
Where
where
he's a Jesus
where
on a
he's
cross.
on the cross as Jesus
With
in
a
American flag shorts.
Yeah, that is so crazy. Oh my gosh.
It's not the salute the
Um,
troops wanted, but
That's
it's the one
troops
they got.
needed.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Word.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed Swamp Dogg. I've loved him for these past couple years. He's a goofy, very personable person. But he does make really excellent music too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like talk about like his resurgence.
Yeah.
So like he made those 2 records, and those were
Yeah.
kind of like record collector like fodder.
The
Like
old records.
yeah, like the first 2 records are like record collectors, like, you know,
Right.
bread and butter kind of, they know about them. And then like he has this resurgence in like 2014-ish, right? And he just starts releasing like starts producing like well-produced music with like very new auto-tune.
Yeah, so he made this album Love, Loss, and Autotune. It came out in 2018, but it had been working on for probably I think over 2 years, because
Yeah.
he recorded his soul songs with a producer named Mogstar, who's like a young guy, and they did like just soul stuff, put it down. And then what's his name? Justin Vernon from Bon Iver, and the other guy's name, I never fucking remember this guy's name. Ryan Olsen from Gangs, took all of the Swamp Dogg songs and they ran it through like processors and digital filters and auto-tune and put these crazy drum machines and ambient noise and stuff.
Yeah.
And basically like deconstructed these soul songs to make it sound like an isolated like robot drifting through space was singing these songs.
I really, really, really
Oh,
like
I'm
this
glad.
album. I was
I'm
so
glad.
excited when I listened to this
Yeah.
for the first time. I was like, it sounds like if he collaborated with like Kanye West in the Yeezus years.
Sure.
This is, or in like a little before that,
Yeah.
like that's because there was moments on that album where I was like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
this? But it wasn't in an upsetting way. It was like, I was just surprised. Because I listened to another one that I listened to was Finally Caught Up With Myself.
Okay.
Another great album cover where he's like dressed in black pointing and it's like him
Yeah.
in a white suit like but Understanding California Women, did you listen to that song?
Yeah.
At the end, he's just like, they're just crazy out here. They're nice to you, and then like they invite you in their house, and next thing you know, you're like waking up on the street. I don't understand what's going on here. What's going on with these California women? It's like so funny. Obviously I'm butchering it, but yeah. Then to hear like an album that's completely auto-tuned was just so like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah,
it
and
was a
it's
game
really
changer.
really well made, and it's really taking a lot from the 808s and Heartbreaks Kanye West sound, and just like, yeah, it's very interesting to listen to. And the other one, so he made that, and I think the world thought, because he started being on all the like Metacritic and Pitchfork and all that shit, because he's working with Bon Iver, and it's like this new crazy thing. It's a 75-year-old soul singer getting reborn. And then two years after that, he made an album called Sorry You Couldn't Make It that is back to what his traditional sound was, which is that country R&B gospel stuff. And it's so immaculately made. Like, it's so great sounding. And he has a couple duets with John Prine. And it's much more traditional with like the organ and the guitar and the bass and the drums, but they have those like slight around the edges flourishes of that weird electronic stuff still on some of the tracks. Like the outro song is one of the last songs that John Prine recorded. This album was released.
Please let me go around again.
Yeah, and that ends with like them singing the chorus over and over again, and then it's like getting garbled and like more distant and like more filters and electronics and John Prine died like a month after that record came out from COVID, and so yeah, and that's so John Prine's on there. It's two guys in their late 70s singing their mournful country soul love songs, and he sounds great. Like I said, he's 79 years old, and his voice sounds the same as when he was 31 or whenever his first stuff was coming out.
Yeah.
Like he has that reedy type of like, he had like an old man voice when he was 31.
Yeah.
And now he's like grown into it and it's like matured.
I just enjoy the auto-tune record, and he just released another fully auto-tuned record. Like,
Is it out? I think it's coming out.
No, it came out like yesterday.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, Pitchfork reviewed it.
Yo.
It's called "I Need a Job So I Can Buy More Auto-Tune."
Oh.
And
talk
he's like
about timing.
shirtless in the woods on the cover. So I also wanted to highlight that record.
Yes.
I Need a Job So I Could Buy More Auto-Tune. Brand new record from Swamp Dogg. Check it out. It's like, it is a take on the classic auto-tuned record, but it's a little bit different. I listened to a little bit of it. And it's classic Swamp Dogg. So you check it out, enjoy it, and
Oh, it came out a week ago. What timing? I didn't realize it came out.
yep. And
So
so
good.
that's also like a great reason to highlight Swamp Dogg, because
Yeah.
a 79-year-old released a brand new album, and it's just like that's why it's so fun though, because it's like he is an artist that literally made albums his entire career.
Yeah.
So you could see the arc of it. He's using new technologies. He's like singing with new flavors. It's an amazing thing to see. It's like he's the Captain Beefheart of soul, maybe. Does that make some
Oh.
kind of sense?
Yeah.
In some sort of way.
And he's so consistent because like the
Yeah.
music is always
It's always good.
good. It's always honest. whatever that means. It's because some of it is really sad, some of it is really funny, some of it is like the exact balance of both in the same song, and you're like, you feel like this guy is one silly motherfucker. Like,
just
he's
a real silly guy. Yeah.
He's great. I love him, and I've only been listening to him for 4-ish years now, but I can't wait to dig into more of his stuff, because I have, as far as all the albums go, I've only listened to probably half of them, because he does put out an album every like 3 years for the last 50 years. So.
Yeah.
Swamp
Very
Dogg,
prolific.
baby.
Swamp Dogg, the original DOGG.
Yeah, check him out.
Yeah.
Soul music, black music in general, American music, just great artist.
Yeah.
An American hero, Swamp Dogg.
Yeah. Also, salute. As a sidebar, what's the Johnny Pemberton podcast?
Oh, I don't know Johnny Pemberton's podcast.
I forget what it's called, but there's an episode of him interviewing Swamp Dogg.
Sure.
And
really?
What's his name? Mogstar.
Mogstar, yeah.
Yeah, so it's Swamp Dogg and Mogstar. Yeah, and Swamp Dogg's sitting there talking about it, and he's like, yeah, everybody who's done me wrong is dead.
Yeah.
And Johnny Pemberton's like, well, what do you mean though? He's like, well, King Curtis crossed me. And then he's like, and then like I woke up one day and I found out, and no, he's like, they were like, you know who died? And I was like, King Curtis. He's like, right after King Curtis was killed, he wronged me. And then he was just going off about how like he's been wronged and like songs had been stolen and shit like that, because he was like working in production and songwriting like as early as like I think it's like 64 or 5 or something like that. Like he lived in Miami, and he would fly to New York for work during the week and stuff like that. And there was another song, I can't remember the name of the song that he wrote, but somewhere it was stolen by this guy named Mona Lisa that he worked with. And like there was some sort of weirdness that happened where it ended up like this one song being like remade by James Brown. I think it was I Can't Stand Myself. That song? That's the James Brown? I think so.
Yeah.
But that was originally based on a Swamp Dogg song. And he's like, but what the fuck was I going to do? I was going to fucking sue James Brown. He's like, you think I have enough? He's like, I barely have enough money to fucking feed my family. You think I have enough money to pay for lawyers to sue James Brown? He's like, so fuck it, whatever. But it's sad because, you hear about it and you're like, man, this dude was broke. But he just continued to make music, and the music is good, and it's substance, and like,
That is believable that James
Brown... Oh, are you
Brown...
playing I Can't Stand Myself to yourself?
No, I only believe that James Brown stole that song because of the subtitle of the song is so Swamp Dogg, and I always thought it was a hilarious James Brown song. It's I Can't Stand Myself When You Touch Me. Yeah. Is the name of that James Brown song, which is
That's a
super Swamp Dogg.
Yeah.
I can't stand myself when you touch me. Come on.
Yeah.
Because it's like
I believe it.
It's a love song, and it also becomes explicitly sexual.
Right. So if we're like,
you should have seen the cover. He wanted.
If we're leaving the topic of Swamp Dogg, you want to shout out
wasn't a glove, believe
your
me.
favorite Swamp Dogg song from this week that we've listened to, because I think it's worth it.
Song. Let me look at my list, because I just like I washed away in the sea of Swamp Dogg, and I just listened. Like I listened.
I was sleeping with the alligators.
It's not ideal gym music because it's nothing is like bow bow bow, but it is still great gym music because that's funny. It's excellent. Let me see.
Well, while you're looking,
I like God Bless America for What off of Rat On, because that is like a mid-70s Parliament Funkadelic type of song about how America is fucked.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, that first song I ever heard, it's still just like, it's like Earth Angel by the Penguins. It's like an iconic, eternal song for me. Lonely off of Love, Loss, and Auto-Tune.
Lonely.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yo, why has no pop star taken that chorus and just I'm like, why have not
sample that?
Yes, it's like dying for like it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a great tune. You get those hits in the beginning.
Right on, Michael. Do you have a favorite Swamp Dogg song from this week? At least?
I do, and it's actually off of Love, Loss, and Auto-Tune, and I think it's just so much. It's just so silly and funny and tongue-in-cheek, man. Sex with Your Ex is just so funny to me. It's just, it's like, he's like, Yeah, I can't remember what the actual lyric is, but he's just like, you know, you can have sex with your ex, so you don't feel so bad, you know, or like you don't feel so crummy, or like it's like a tacky kind of lyric like that, and you're like, oh my god, it's so funny.
It reminds me of like that Clarence Carter song that
Yeah,
you
right.
love, where he's like, "Bees make love,
yeah.
trees
Mosquitoes
make
make love, yeah. Everybody just needs to make a little love.
What's that name of that song, Michael?
Which one?
That Clarence Carter tune.
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh, Stroke It.
No, Strokin' is his weird '80s hit.
Stroke.
He's like, I stroke it to the left. You know, he's like, I stroke it to the right. No, I stroke it to the right. I stroke it to the left. I stroke it to the woman that I love best. I be stroking, and he's just like, I'm stroking. And he's just like, keep it going slow, girl. Make sure you don't go too fast. If that mouth ain't good enough, I'll put it up, yo. Wow, I've been stroking.
Oh my god. How
amazing.
embarrassing for Michael when that gets clipped out. And
Yeah, we need a clip at my expense. We do.
What's your favorite song, Luke?
My favorite song was definitely A World Beyond. Apocalyptic songs.
Yeah.
Great. Close second, Mama's Baby, Daddy's Maybe.
Which is about paternity issues and just going, I don't really care. I don't care if it's someone else's child. I
Mama's
still love
Baby,
you.
Daddy's Maybe.
Yeah.
It was
And
just...
he loved that song so much. That's on the first album and the third album.
It's a cry for help song.
It's one of those songs
My
like
dad didn't love me, man.
like you explained when we first listened to it. It's one of those songs that you're listening to and you're like, yeah, this is fine enough. And then you like stop and you're like, wait, what the fuck did he
What
just
is
say?
this song about?
Did he just
Yeah.
say Daddy, Mama's Baby, Daddy's
baby.
Dude, that
Baby.
honestly,
Daddy's
because I went into this,
baby.
obviously I went into this pretty blind. You know, I didn't really know
Yeah.
any of the songs. Man, there were moments when I was listening to these songs because I didn't know what to expect, and I just literally burst out
you're
in
like-
laughter
you're
like, in
laughing.
the middle because I'm like,
You're
wait,
like,
what the fuck did he
You're
just
like,
say?
who
That's
has the
this, that-
ball? Who has the balls to sing that into a microphone?
Yeah, man, and it's so funny. Like people must have thought I was going crazy because I'm just like,
He's
like,
the
just
best, man.
laughing.
Yeah.
Swamp Dogg.
Swamp Dogg.
Get into it.
Swamp
Wow,
Dog.
wow. All right, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will do
Highlight some more black artists.
yeah.
to
highlight
check
some
out.
more. All right, hello everyone, welcome back. Get in the garage.
A music podcast.
Music lover.
Oh, I thought I was saying it.
Oh. Anyway, welcome back. We're we
Can you give me your best Ed Sullivan?
Oh,
Ed Sullivan.
it's like Richard Nixon,
It's-
but without being.
He's like, okay, the
Yeah.
Beatles.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That was a little Jesse the
Perfect.
Body that was a little
Book 'em.
Jesse the Bottom Ventura though, because Jesse the Bottom he does this. He has this kind of strange way of talking.
Do you have a Ed Sullivan?
I do not.
That's tricky.
I love impressions, and I know I just can't do them.
No.
Well, I think I think I can do them, but then like how they sound in my own ear,
Yeah.
I think sounds good, but I know out there it does not sound good.
Mike's a master.
Mike's a master impressionist.
Thank you.
Do Dave Mustaine.
Hello, me.
Thank you.
Meet the real me.
No, we only need 3 words.
Oh, okay. You get a little bit finish the phrase. My misfit way of life. Yeah,
Hello, me.
man. Meet the real me. Sweating bullets.
Sweating bullets. I can do singing impressions, but I can't do speaking
Yeah.
impressions.
Speaking ones are.
What singing one did I do recently that one of my favorite, Lane Staley.
Oh, you can.
That's
yeah.
one that I
You
can
gotta
do.
have a good. You
I
gotta
can
have
do
a good
that
Lane
instantly.
Because it's just yeah. You know what you do? You just
You're
writhe
close.
in agony. And you sound like Lane Staley.
You just keep your lips close to your teeth, basically. Wow, you're seeing everything.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do a Buddy Holly hiccup pretty well,
Oh.
Yeah.
but I don't want to do it at this moment.
Come on.
It's really loud. I can only do it
A
loud.
hiccup?
Yeah, you know.
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I could. That's like the one thing
So
I
do
can
it.
do.
So pull the mic away.
I don't want to do it.
That's okay. We don't-
He's a shy guy.
He's a shy guy. No, it's okay. Because he knows I'm gonna clip it. That's why. Anyway, all right, cool. So welcome back. We're talking.
And it would say, Buddy Holly, fail.
The day the music died. Truly.
Well, listen, we're in March.
Sorry, that might have been a sensitive comment. R.I.P. to Buddy
It
Holly.
happened 60 fucking years ago.
Our apologies and condolences to the Buddy Holly
Condolences to the
estate.
Buddy Holly estate.
I'd like to apologize to the Big Bopper family, as nobody
Oh.
gives a shit about the Big Bopper.
Yeah, but the Big Bopper made like fucking novelty songs.
That's why nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's why I would just like. It's so. I mean, so does
Still
Swamp
an
Dogg.
artist. So, that's true. So does Swamp Dogg.
The Bob Teardrop.
All right.
Moving
so we each,
on.
Yeah, moving on. We each picked 3.
Cult classic
Cult,
artists.
yeah, lesser known,
Yeah.
underrated, worth checking out. Kind of in the same similar vein as Swamp Dogg.
The musicians,
Yeah.
if you will.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Who are
sure.
like, yeah. How do we want to do this? Do we want to each person just hit their 3?
Yeah, why don't we do that? You want to lead us off?
Sure. Oh, I don't want to lead us off.
I
No?
will lead us off.
Luke will lead us off. Because
So-
yours are more similar to each other.
Yeah, so I kind of chose like 3 of kind of like almost the same period. We'll start with my favorite here, Major Lance. Major Lance is from the north side of Chicago. He went to school with Curtis Mayfield and Jerry Butler of the Impressions, and kind of made friends with them. He was a kind of lesser known soul singer of the era. He had hits with, well, his major hit is called
Crash Test Dummies?
way before
Way
the Crash
before
Test
Crash
Dummies.
Test
He has a song.
There was this kid who.
But do up.
Yeah, so it's like his chorus is like
Yeah.
and it's got this great horn line.
I can hear it now. Ooh,
It's very
nice.
impressionist. Obviously Curtis Mayfield wrote the helped him write like a bunch of the tunes. So it sounds like Curtis Mayfield, but it's like way more of the Northern Soul vibe, which was a phenomenon that happened in England where they would take kind of obscure records and each DJ would try to play the best obscure soul song that their UK fans had never heard before, and they would go, "What song is this?" So Major Lance was one of those artists, and after not really receiving the kind of the recognition that he deserved in America, he actually ended up going over to the UK where he knew people loved him and started to perform as a club act there. And really, really hit it big. His 1972 album, Major Lance Live at the Torch, in the UK, is like a soul classic. He lays down all of his like 60s hits with other well-known northern soul classics, and he just like he tears down this club with like mid-tempo soul songs, and it's just like it's mind-blowing. It's such a good performance. So that's definitely one I wanted to shout out. Major Lance, check it out. All your favorite soul and rock and roll artists love him. You just don't know it.
I've never heard of this artist.
Really?
No.
I believe
I heard this song before, but yeah. That was pretty much it.
I don't really know if I'm gonna say a story that I don't know is super true, but I believe like one of the days, I think it was like Mick Jagger met Keith Richards. I believe one of them was holding a Major Lance record, and that's like why they knew, like, oh, you're hip. So Major Lance is very much more of a UK phenomenon than a US one, but definitely check it out. The other hit that was somewhat pretty big for him in the US was called The Monkey Time. So check that out as well. That one is definitely written by Curtis Mayfield. So that's the first one. The other one I want to shout out also has a Curtis Mayfield connection to it, and that would be Baby Huey. So Baby Huey was an artist that was kind of like a psychedelic soul artist. He got signed to Curtis Mayfield's Kirchhoff's label. I never really know how to pronounce it. But he got signed to that label and released, like, he passed away in the middle of making this record. And so there's only one record with like half vocals on it, half are instrumental.
Yeah.
And it's called Hard Times by Baby Huey and the Babysitters.
I've seen the cover.
Yes. It's a classic
I had it on
collector's
vinyl.
record.
Yeah,
At one point, I still might.
that's where I saw it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's also a giant hip hop sample record.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is
Hard
huge.
time, yeah,
Yeah.
big hip hop samples.
I forget who sampled Hard Times.
Well, I
That
can
There's like a part, like if you listen to the beginning. Also, those who are listening, that in the beginning, definitely listen along with us too. Some because in other words, feel free to pause the podcast and listen to a song that we might be talking about.
Yeah.
I thought you meant they could hear what we're hearing.
No.
Okay.
Artists that have sampled have been Ice Cube, Tribe Called Quest, Ghostface Killer, The Roots.
Ghostface Killer was the one I was thinking.
So there's definitely a ton of people who have sampled it. Highlights off this record are the giant, awesome psychedelic version of Sam Cooke's "A Change Is Gonna Come."
Yep.
The other one is obviously "Hard Times." It's the classic Baby Huey song. It's super funky, hard backbeat, great horns, all that great stuff.
Yeah.
So the other one, on this record too, is the instrumental "California Dreamin'." That is like super, just like it's just hyped up, soul, great. So Baby Huey died of a heroin overdose, and he never got to live out his stardom. But he lives on as a cult classic artist, and
So when did he die? Like
he
early
died
70s?
1970. His soul album was released
70,
in 1971. And it wasn't even a finished record. But so Baby Huey kind of just became this cult icon. It's a record. This is a record collector's record. Every record collector that's in the game knows about this record. You've seen the cover a million times. He's got a great afro. He was a 300-pound dude.
Yeah.
Just
he looks so somber on the cover.
yes, he looks so sad, right? Well, it's hard times, man. Hard times being Baby Huey.
Yeah.
But so don't do the heroin and stay clean, kids.
That's the clip that we're gonna put out.
Yeah.
Stay clean, kids.
You drink the booze, you lose.
You drink
Rum?
the booze, you lose.
Rumpelstiltskin's a good man.
Good man.
Man.
But,
Yeah, isn't it sad that how many musicians can you put in that category of people whose lives and career and everything was just
taken
it's tough,
to
man.
Yeah, it's not like some of the other people who lived long lives, like Major Lance. Had a big career, long life. But
Swamp Dogg
One
still alive.
album,
one,
and like a half album.
and it's a half album,
And it's so good.
and and that's the killer because you
'cause
hear it
just
and you're like,
shit.
what? You're like, what could have been? Because it's early psychedelic soul in the style of Sly and the Family Stone, but it's much more aggressively horn heavy and great.
Yeah, just heavy hits.
Where was he from? Because especially music back then, it was very. You know how important it was where you're from and what neighborhood community and all that stuff. Like what was his background? Is he a
Just
New York
as
guy, California?
Major Lance, he is from Chicago.
Oh, cool.
And so that would give him also the Curtis Mayfield. I
Yeah,
didn't realize that Chicago was such a heavy mainstay for kind of these cult underground artists, but it definitely is because another artist we talked about on our first video episode a couple weeks ago, Sun Ra, also from Chicago. So very fascinating.
Yeah, people forget it's the third biggest city in America. It's
a lot, and it's being the second city kind of thing, right? Like that kind of vibe. It also would then therefore make sense that it has some of the lesser known artists, even though they're not as, they're not lesser known as their works aren't. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. But so that's Baby Huey. Awesome.
nice.
You want me to do my last one here?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Syl Johnson. So he is a dude also from Chicago. All three of mine are from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
He worked with this label called the Twin Night label, and if Michael, right behind you, there's a box set right there by the Numero Group. It's number 13. I think it's called Twin Nights Lunar Rotation.
I thought that was David Ruffin from the Temptations.
So this box set here highlights the Twin Night label from Chicago. It was a kind of an underground label or an independent label in its day, and it had a lot of unknown
outfit.
soul acts that would come through and release like one-offs to the label. The label's main star was Syl Johnson. He really released the only hits the label had and was the guy that was keeping it afloat. And he became a like underground legend because of hip hop sampling. A lot of the way that like Baby Huey was a mix of it was his soul record and hip hop samples made him a, you know what I mean, a cult classic. But Syl Johnson, it really is just like the hip hop sampling that hit home. So he grew up next to another person we're going to talk about today, Magic Sam. Was his next door neighbor, the guitar player. He also is the artist responsible for the Big Mouth Billy Bass version
His
of
lasting legacy.
Take Me to the River. So if you've ever
Nice.
heard
Take
that,
me to the river.
Oh, wait, you sing.
Take me to the river. Drop me in the water.
you got to turn your head.
Oh, it does. Turn.
Ready? 1, a 5, 2, 3, 4.
A 5, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, we're really off.
Yeah, I
7,
know.
10, 11, 9.
And take me to the river. Drop me in the water.
So
Wow,
that
what
was
a legacy.
yes. That was released like
Still getting
later.
those residuals.
He
Billy
made
Bass
the
bucks.
most money he's ever made off of anything he's
Oh, I'm
ever
sure.
done was the residual from the Big Mouth Billy Bass. It's on.
Yeah,
it's
everybody
yeah,
got
Every
that as like a
redneck
gag.
had one of those in their house.
People just bought it ironically, you know.
I don't-
Like, it was
I don't like
every,
you-
It was for everyone.
I
It
don't like you
truly was
talking
for
about
everyone.
my family like that.
I'm sorry. My apologies to the family.
We had one too. Don't get twisted.
Also, it's in that episode of The Sopranos.
Yeah, when they give him and then he has like the panic attack, right, or something like it's like
yeah,
singing out
because
of his.
he has to kill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
No, spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in an episode of
Sopranos.
Last Man on Earth too.
Is it?
They
Is
rigged
it?
they rigged their entire house with Big Mouth Billy Bass. So as like an alarm system. So every inch of the hallway has it. So they walk through the house and you just hear, "Da, da, 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 da."
That's
amazing.
pretty amazing.
Oh man.
So that's like later in his career when he was working with the High label and Al Green. So he was signed to them later. His main, I'd say like his most important work was done with the Twin Night label. Hip hop samples galore, Wu-Tang Clan, numerous others.
Yeah.
But check it out. It's like
The Woo.
it's more kind of like Hardy, James Brown, but not strictly like soul. There's like verse choruses. It's more like that kind of thing. It's more just vocal wise, I was stating, but it's great music. Check it out and check out that box set from the Twin Night label. It's one of my favorite things I own. So yeah, definitely check
Cool,
those out.
man. Can you name your 3 again, just to wrap it?
Yeah, absolutely. We have Major Lance, Baby Huey, and Syl Johnson, and those are all out of the great city of Chicago, and they're 60s and 70s artists. So
Very nice.
check out those 3.
Very
Right
nice.
on. I'll go next.
Sure.
So my first pick to piggyback off of what Luke, Syl Johnson. I'm gonna go with Magic Sam as my first pick.
Tell us about the magic.
Magic Sam, this is a crazy one too. This reminds me of kind of the Baby Huey story because Magic Sam died at 32 of like just this heart attack, just randomly, just passed away. And there's one just killer album, West Side Soul. There's other stuff. I was listening to, it was called like Crash Complete was another one. That's like early. He was also on Cobra Records with Otis Rush and Buddy Guy. Which is interesting because, like, when you think of, like, so he did what a lot of people from the South do, like blues musicians from the South do, is, like, he left Mississippi and went to Chicago.
Chicago was the first place you got.
Right. So, it's interesting because when you think about, like, blues in Chicago, immediately you think of Chess Records. But, like, Cobra was, you know what I mean? Like, you don't think about that. But, like, this, researching Magic Sam kind of made me hip to the Cobra stuff. But yeah, if you could listen to any album, it's West Side Soul. That was released in. Hold on one second. Let me look
Is
it up.
that the one where he's got that great, wonderful red guitar on the front cover? It's like a very striking
Yeah.
image. Yes, it's
Yeah.
an amazing.
And the cool font up top, and
Yeah,
like
it's-
it's so like Atlantic Records looking, even
Yeah.
though it's not.
So what kind of like blues does he play? kind of guitar player is
1967. He kind of, dude. Honestly, man, he kind of he can kind of do everything. He's got a gnarly boogie that you can watch. He did like this blues. I think it was a blues festival.
Well, that's what I'm kind of asking.
In
Does he
Germany,
play like boogie blues or does he play slow blues?
He that's what I mean. Like he does all of it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But
And
his boogies are on. His slow blues are great.
He does all of it. The 1 chord, the 4 chord,
Chord.
and the 5 chord.
Well, like I'm asking because like Buddy Guy doesn't do. Buddy Guy's like a certain kind of blues player. He's like Chicago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Up tempo mostly.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff,
yeah.
So
and-
he has a
Dancing.
lot of that. He also has like that Otis Rush kind of vibe about him
Okay.
too. You know what I mean? He has that kind of thing.
like soul blues.
yeah.
Yeah, very soul blues. Lots of space. You know what I mean? And one of his signature sounds is the fact that he used the trem almost all the time.
Okay.
So a bit Pop Staples-esque
Right.
kind
Right
of
on.
vibe. You
right
know
on.
what I mean? And he has like this howling sort of voice. It's BB King-esque, but it's more gruff. It's got some more hair on it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's you
Grittier.
know, but yeah, a bit grittier. But yeah, absolutely incredible, man. Same thing. Like Luke called me this morning and was like, "Bro, I know you have that magic. I don't have that Magic Sam. I don't have this album. I don't. I thought I did.
It's a shame.
I have a Muddy Waters record that kind of the cover kind of looks similar.
That's why
so
maybe I thought
that's
you
why
had
you
it.
thought that I had it. So yeah, Magic Sam, check him out. Definitely a sleeper. Gone too soon. I mean, just it's such a bummer because like he could have just because he would have been one of those ones too. Like
And
he probably would still be alive. Like
what's the album name again?
West Side Soul. There's a
Right
deluxe
on.
edition on Spotify that's like 45 minutes long. But there's other stuff too that's worth checking out. The Crash Complete recording sessions, and then I want to say there's some live stuff that you can find on streaming that's really, really good too. The recording quality isn't, it isn't ideal, but it's still
the
pretty
way
cool
I
because
like
it's like a historical, it's like a historical moment because he died so early on. There's the magic of Magic Sam, Magic Sam's greatest hits, Chicago blues guitarist Magic Sam, but they're all just comps of like
the
like
same tracks.
Yeah, it's like all that kind of stuff. But West Side Soul is the one if you're gonna listen to like the one. So then let's move on. My next pick is a Miss Mavis Staples.
I was trying to find the record behind you, but I can't. But we should have put it up. I have it.
You have it?
Yeah, it's somewhere. But what are we gonna do?
Which one?
I have the classic Swing Low Staple Singers record.
Wow.
I also
yeah, right.
have their second record on Stax, which I cannot remember the name of at the moment. But yeah, big Staple Singers fan, big Mavis Staples fan.
Yeah.
Big fan of her work with Jeff Tweedy of Wilco.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us about Mavis.
Well, so one of the albums that I listen because like when you listen to the Staple Singers, like yes, it's an ensemble, it's a group, but like don't get it twisted. Mavis Staples is like the star of the show.
It's Mavis Staples and Pop Staples. If you're talking about the Staple Singers, those
Yeah.
are always the two constants in the group.
Yeah.
And the only two that like you really matter. Mavis is always pretty much on lead vocals, and Pop Staples classic trem guitar.
Yeah. And there's a great comp that's on streaming. It's just called The Very Best of the Staple Singers. It's like them with like palm leaves like covering them in the front. We usually talk about like albums and stuff, but Staple Singers, they have just so much stuff that this is a group that I can kind of rock with like a compilation of like greatest hits and stuff and just be pretty satisfied with it,
Yeah. So like if you're talking Mavis Staples and Staple Singers, you kind of have you have two like things you have, or kind of like three if you're talking Mavis. You have the early gospel stuff.
Yep.
That is late 50s, early 60s. Then they have their Stax period, which is soul influenced, and Stax, that
Yeah.
all that entails. And then she has like a late career renaissance where Jeff Tweedy from Wilco writes songs with her, and it's kind of low key and well done, produced, and
Yeah.
definitely worth checking out.
Was she on the Summer of Soul documentary?
Yes, she
Yeah.
was. She was the
Available now on Disney Plus and Hulu
Hulu. Yeah.
and illegal pirate websites.
Sponsor us, Questlove. Sponsor us.
Sponsor
Yeah.
us, pirate.
Oh, I forgot the
websites.
Rap Snacks.
Yeah.
I
you
forgot the
did.
wrap snacks.
We had wrap snacks.
I didn't
Michael
crack
forgot.
into them. I'm afraid to eat those things, man. You read the ingredients on the back of that thing, and it's pretty,
preservatives of preservatives.
it's pretty scary. But I got a bag of Cardi B barbecue
Listen,
chips from
Master
Phil.
P
Cardi barbecue.
bakes his chips.
barbecue.
Cardi B barbecue.
Car barbecue.
Go barbecue. Garagely. All right, and my last pick after Mavis, just to wrap my list up, is Joe Tex. I think you have.
I have a
Do you
Joe
have a
Tex
Joe Tex
record.
up?
It's not behind you though. I only grabbed my picks, kind of. I didn't really grab your picks.
Because fuck you and
I
fuck
had
Joe
your
Tex.
picks, but I didn't really. I grabbed like Curtis Mayfield and the Twin Knight and the Impressions over there. But
Yeah, I have an album that it's just what is it called?
yeah, it's called Soul Country.
Soul Country. That's what it is. I'm sorry.
Joe Tex. Yep.
Yeah, it's on streaming. It's only available as a double album with Live and Lively or Live and Lively, Garagely, Soul Country. So it's kind of like, it's the two albums kind of mixed onto one for the sake of streaming, and it labels which one is Soul Country. But that was a record that you gave me. He was an Atlantic artist, I think.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, just check this out, give it a listen, and it's great. If you listen to Swamp Dogg, you can listen to Joe Tex. If you listen to Joe Tex, definitely you can go listen to Swamp Dogg because it's R&B country soul. Like that's the whole vibe of this one highlighted album that I really love. So
If you're gonna cough, leave the room.
it wasn't. I didn't cough. I hiccuped. This polar.
That's when we do the Buddy Holly hiccup. Do it, Luke.
Oh.
That's a goofy hiccup.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're talking about the same guy. So yeah, just great. He was where is it? Yes.
I assume he's from Texas.
He is from Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, so like Joe Tex was like kind of like he did this album that a lot of like it's in a lot of country collections. If I'm like going through stuff, it's like usually the only soul record in there. Like it's his biggest album, and it's takes on like modern country hits. And it's just done like soul cover versions of it. So it's like that original kind of style of doing that. I believe what is that giant song that I can Bobby Gentry, I can't think of it, but
I don't know.
he does a lot of like classic country tunes on there, and it's really great. And it's a great version of like the Swamp Dogg country soul in its original form. So
Yeah.
I definitely would check it out. And it's also like in a lot of ways that black artists were influenced by country music. It's like a perfect melding of it, and a record that's pretty easy to find but not greatly appreciated. So.
Yeah, and he was like somebody who came up kind of in like, the way that a lot of like young black artists at the time kind of came up, where it was like he sang in the church, he sang in a Pentecostal church, he hustled, he like did a bunch of talent shows and took all the money winnings and traveled up to New York City. He was in like an amateur show at the Apollo. Caught the eye of Henry Glover, and he was offered a record contract with King Records when he was 19 years old. So it's pretty wild, man. Like
King Records, also the record label of a Mr. James Brown.
Right. Yeah, and from what I had seen too, he had a bit of a rivalry with James.
With James himself.
With James himself. I can stand myself. Ow! Ow! Fuck you, Joe Tex.
I don't know if that was appropriate.
No, come on.
You did black scent, my friend.
Oh, come on. It's an impression. We just talked about how I do good impressions.
That's impressions. That's not.
That's impressions.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joe Tex, love it. Give him a listen. If anything, just check out the what do you call it? The Soul Country album.
Soul Country.
Yeah, very good. Jeffrey, onto your list.
So mine are a couple are more contemporary artists that I just want to highlight because they are like the musicians, but they could always use more exposure. The first is D'Angelo, who is a soul artist, been making albums since 1995. He's only made 3 studio albums. He put out Brown Sugar in 1995, Voodoo in 2000, and then in 2014 put out Black Messiah. So very sparse, very few songs in the discography. a very particular artist who wants like the perfect thing on his records.
Yeah.
He had that 14-year gap between the second, third albums because of life issues and substance stuff, and kind of like hating being famous because he broke really big when the second album came out. He is someone that like he's only made 50 or less songs, but I don't think most people have listened to his music, and he's incredible. He's like the guy, in my opinion, of the 21st century when it comes to soul music, because he mixes some Prince stuff with some James Brown type stuff, with some like Temptations, Motown type stuff, and puts it in a pot and makes it his own and makes it very new and fresh. He works with like only the best people. Amir Questlove Thompson on drums, Ali Shaheed Muhammad from Tribe Called Quest did drum programming on his first album, Pino Palladino on bass, Charlie Hunter on guitar and bass, Raphael Sadiq on guitar and bass, Spanky Alford on guitar, Isaiah Sharkey on guitar, Roy Hargrove on horns. He is just like, he's a beautiful singer, beautiful songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. He plays pretty much every instrument. Some tracks on his albums he is playing every instrument, and he had a big hit in 2000 off of Voodoo. One of my favorite songs, like really honestly, if I had to choose like favorite song ever, like a song to play on a loop for the rest of the time, it might be this song, and it's Untitled, How Does It Feel, which was a huge hit R&B song, iconic music video, which is like just a close-up camera shot of him naked, and it's like his face, and then it scans down and widens out to his body, and he's just like slowly spinning while he sings. But like a lot of female artists experienced in that time, since the dawn of time up until a year ago, up until the present time.
Actually, it's the whole theme of kind of last week's episode that we talked about.
But he was ripped, six-pack, like looked like a god, and he became a sex symbol, and he just wanted to be a really badass musician. He didn't want to be on stage having bras thrown at him and shit like that. So he retreated from the spotlight. He dealt with drug and food addiction and obesity and substance abuse and family issues, but he came back in 2014 and made that third album, which is like, it's like almost, it has the kind of the Curtis Mayfield like social awareness and justice stuff. It has very deep emotional love songs. His music is so nuanced, it's so rich and deep, and like he's made 3 albums, but people like Questlove will talk about him endlessly, and you could talk about like a song of his for hours because there's so many layers, there's so much specificity. And he's just like, he doesn't get his due. Like, not to put you on the spot or call you out or anything, but I'm sure you guys haven't listened to the 3 albums.
I've listened to the.
We did talk about one for an episode. We talked about Black Messiah for one episode,
right?
At some point,
right?
That might have been during like the quarantine episodes.
I've never listened to the first.
Yeah,
but I've hopped around.
Dabbled. Sure.
But I definitely have not gone full bore. But everything I've listened to is I mean, it's amazing.
But it's 3 albums. So D'Angelo puts out music so infrequently, but like he has 2.5 hours of music ever. So please give him a listen. At this rate, you know, he's not even 50 yet, but he might release the next album in fucking
I don't think
8
he's
more
gonna release
years.
another album.
Like he might wait until he's 60 years old to put out another album. Like, I don't know. I hope not.
It's kind of like the To Kill a Mockingbird thing. It's kind of like I don't think he like needs to, because like the first, like the 2 I've listened to are so like completely filling. You're like, yeah, it's this, you knocked it out of the park. 2 classic records. So
yeah. So let's hope he puts out some more, because the 3 I love to death, but I love them so much. All I want is more. So D'Angelo. My next artist is another contemporary artist who I just think needs more play, and that's Esperanza Spalding, who is a jazz singer and bass player and songwriter, who famously won the Best New Artist Grammy over Justin Bieber, and then like her whole life on the internet got ruined by 12-year-old girls who were furious that Justin Bieber didn't win the Grammy. So she had to like persevere through this like internet barrage of hate. Whenever that was, that would have been
baby. Oh,
yeah, that would have been
like
almost 15 years
2008.
ago. Yeah. But she's a beautiful singer, excellent bass player, and it's like if you like the jazzier, folky Joni Mitchell stuff, mixed with like kind of a Norah Jones sensibility at times, but also like she is jazzier than both of those artists because she is a jazz bass player first and foremost, an upright bassist.
Bass jazz, really.
Bass jazz.
But
she's, especially a couple of her most recent albums are just really phenomenal. And those albums are Emily's De-Evolution from 2016, 12 Little Spells from 2018, which is like a song cycle of like kind of like a yogic practice of each song is about a different part of the body. And it's like themes about life and love and loss and humanity, and it's focusing on like the mouth or the hips. Like the hips song is about dancing and moving, it's really, really, really phenomenal. And then she put out an album last year, Songwrites Apothecary Lab. But just excellent. She's like in her late 30s, and she's hip as shit, man. She's like very down with the women empowerment and black empowerment and like desexualizing females body, and she is a badass, and she's just a excellent musician. Esperanza Spalding. And then my third pick, I was thinking like I love solo artists, but also like we all love bands. So I was thinking like who's a great unheralded band of primarily black people? And I thought about Parliament, I thought about Funkadelic, I thought about some of the people. I'm like, no, people know those. The band I want to highlight is a band from Cincinnati, Ohio, electro funk band from the early 80s and early 90s called Zap with 2 P's. Zap. Zap was fronted by a singer, songwriter, keyboard player named Roger Troutman, and Zap consisted of Roger and 3 of his brothers, and then a collection of 5 to 7 other people at various times. And their music is like exactly bridging between Parliament, Funkadelic, and Prince. And it's that era too. It's their big era was like 1980 to 1986. But Roger played the talkbox keyboard through like a mini Moog, and famously you can hear him. He is the voice on California Love by Tupac and Dr. Dre. So that crazy effect you hear, or like the Casey and JoJo keyboard vocal things that you hear in the late 90s, like Roger Troutman was doing that shit in 1980 using a custom made for him by Electro Harmonics called the Golden Throat. It was a effects processor, because he heard like Peter Frampton and the guys of the early or mid late 70s using the talkbox for guitar. And he's like, why can't I do that on keyboard? So he had Electro Harmonics make him a custom Golden Throat processor. And there's YouTube videos of him in those times, the early 80s, like on talk shows, demonstrating it and being like, welcome to that broadcast. Like, it's great. And their music is just, it's dance, fun, like, it's grooving dance, funk music. There is real singing too. He's a real singer, and the other people in the band really sing too. A lot of that Funkadelic kind of gang vocals where you got like 3 people sing the same thing. But that keyboard vocals, it's crazy.
It's the best of like the 80s sound before the 80s. It's like
the dawn of the 80s.
It's right to the dawn of the 80s, and everything you think of as 80s music afterwards is like derivative of this kind of stuff. Like the drum machines, like the keyboard bends, and everything run through keyboard kind of style.
And they were from Cincinnati, Ohio. And they had ties to the Collins brothers, Bootsy Collins and Catfish Collins, because they grew up in Cincinnati. So when they would like come back home, they would go to the local scene and see who's playing. And they saw this other group of brothers. And they're like, yo, we got to get these on. These guys are rocking. So they actually got them signed. Bootsy Collins helped produce that first Zapp record. So you didn't think, I wouldn't think Cincinnati, Ohio as like a hotbed of funk music, but like it definitely was.
Yeah.
And you know, they had that look like not the Prince like frilly lace thing, but more of like how the time like Prince's side thing was, where it's like guys everyone's in matching like sharp suits.
Yeah.
And like everybody's doing like the like coordinate dance moves, and like everyone somehow is playing a keyboard in the band. Like
it's super 80s, but like it has like a modern, it like almost like it like
it
this,
sounds kind of current, right?
It's like because this kind of music is coming back into style, and it's like fashionable again to like, and these are like great big hooky like verses and choruses. It's so melodic. Quick story about Zapp.
Please.
This Zapp 2 was a cassette that was just like always floating around in my house.
Yeah.
And for some reason lived in my room as a child, like a young child. It was always there. And I realized it was like must have been my uncle's now. My uncle was like just, you know, a very gay man and was the only one who in my household who would have been ever listening to anything remotely like this music.
Yeah.
And I really only say this too because there was like little to no black artists like in you know, my family's music collection.
Sure.
And like this is just so out there and obscure. I remember when I got a cassette player and I was like, oh, I have a cassette. Like you're a little kid, you first start to get things like that, like, and you just had anything. So whatever you had, you do whatever you had. So I put the cassette in. And it's like, and I was just like,
we're gonna party.
Never had heard anything like that, and instantly went, I don't think this is for me. I like put it away.
Cutscene to Luke.
Just
love is a burning flame. Yeah, that's more like it.
Yeah, and it
Makes
just,
the fire.
I remember it completely blowing my mind to the point where I was like, this sounds alien, and I was like, it almost made me like uncomfortable. It's like because I was really little, and then I like put it away and never thought about it again. And then this cassette is still rolling around in my life somewhere. It's either at your house, Mike, or my house in the pile of cassettes that we own somewhere.
It's somewhere.
But yeah, it was just like one of those moments where like I first heard black music and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this is way different than, but you don't realize what it is at that moment, but you're like, oh wow, you know.
Yeah.
And Zapp.
Yeah, and it's the song, I think maybe not the first one I heard by Zapp, but the first one that really stuck with me is they did a cover of one of my favorite songs. The song called "If I Only Have Eyes for You." It's a doo-wop song where it's like shoo-ba-dop, dun, 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 dun,
By the Flamingos?
Shoo-da-bop, dun, dun, dun. And it's "Stars out tonight, I only have eyes for
Oh,
you."
yeah.
They do.
I am right. It is the
They
Flamingos.
do a cover of that from their fourth album, like '86.
Huh.
So you gotta check that
I
out,
gotta check
man.
that out,
Oh
yeah.
my god,
Love that. I love that song.
because it's all those chromatic, cool, like the chord motions.
Yeah,
but it's
thinking about
but it's
it.
with 3-part vocoder keyboard harmonies.
listen
It's
to this.
fucking insane. It's
Yeah.
so good sounding. And the other thing I heard by Zapp, or I heard of Zapp, was there's a contemporary group I really enjoy called Chromio, which is a electro funk duo from Canada. It's a Jewish guy and an Arab guy, and so a very strange partnership. But they make music that's all influenced by Zapp because one guy sings and plays guitar and bass, the other guy does only the vocoder keyboard stuff, and they would talk about Zapp in interviews and stuff. And I'm like, I've never heard of this Zapp group. And then I play it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what Chromio is like going for.
Yeah.
Is this like kind of sung, kind of processed vocals with just like fat keyboards, and it's just dance music, and it's poppy and it's fun. And
This also doesn't sound that much different than another kind of underground artist, Thundercat. right?
Yeah.
Like
Thundercat's like jazzier, fusion.
way jazzier, but in the way of like the vocoder vocal kind of style.
Yeah, that's experimentation.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely get that vibe.
Yeah.
This
Right on.
cover, I have it playing in my headphones of "I Only Have Eyes for You" by Zapp. Please check this out.
Please.
This sounds like it came out today.
Oh yeah.
This sounds modern, and it's
Yeah.
old as dirt. It came
It's
out like
35 years
Yeah,
ago.
it's 35 years old.
Yeah.
It sounds like a completely modern
Yeah,
tune.
we'll play it after the show.
It
Yeah,
is.
I'll have to listen to
This is
it.
amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Check this out, guys.
So check out Zapp.
And sorry to end on a bummer, but Zapp like existed until through the 90s, even though their height was in the early 80s. But they might kind of exist in like a tribute or like the whoever's left. But Roger Troutman, the frontman, got killed. It was a murder-suicide by his brother, who was also in the band
Oh my
Whoa.
god.
in the late 90s.
Wow.
So they like both died when they were like maybe late 40s or.
Jesus.
So sorry to end on that sad note. There's
This needs a Netflix documentary.
Yeah. Also, I'm just really happy that I'm not the one ending it on the sad note for once.
Oh, I have a happy note we can end on. I had something I wanted to.
get on the
Shout.
dance floor. Get on the dance floor. Computer love.
I can't wait for that Netflix doc, though. That'll be a
Yeah.
good one. On a happier note, I want to just shout out before we leave. One of my favorite bands, Jeff the Brotherhood, released a new album. It's called Ye Olde. So, as in Ye Olde, Jeff the Brotherhood. It's a instrumental record, Japanese influence. Sounds a lot like the band Can, krautrocky. It is beautiful and amazing. And please check out the new Jeff the Brotherhood record, Ye Olde.
Can I give another shout out? Since
Please.
we should always end on stuff to check out. Speaking about Ye Olde, an album that's new to me, I think it's from the late 90s, called Ye Olde Space Band by the Moog Cookbook.
Okay.
It's a duo of guys remaking all classic rock songs. It's like 12 songs, like Hotel California and Rock and Roll All Night and Ain't Talking About Love, all with Moog synthesizers.
All right.
It is phenomenal. The other day at trivia, I played the original song and then I played their cover right directly after it. And after like the fourth time I did it, you could just see every head in the room like, what the fuck is going on? Why does this guy keep playing the weird keyboard remixes of these songs? And they are so good. So check that out. Moog Cookbook, Ye Olde Space Band is the album.
Right on. Well, once again, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment and tell us your thoughts. And if we've expressed any opinions on this episode, talk to us about it in the comments. You know, let's have
Support
some fun. Let's
black
engage.
music, black artists.
Yeah.
Yep.
American music is black music.
Yeah.
Wake up. That's what it is.
All right. Yes. Instagram, YouTube, all that fun stuff. Guys.
Yeah, we're on Instagram.
The boys are back.
The boys are back.
Until next time, this is
We'll be at Johnny's Bar and Grill.
We'll be at Johnny's Bar. We'll be at Johnny's Bar and Grill. Blood will spill. We'll see you next time. Goodbye. Goodbye.
This has been a presentation from the Wasted Robot Network. For more information and links to other shows, please visit www.wastedrobotrecords.com/podcasts.